Now we go to the final presentation in this slot by my co-chair, Saskia, Hommes-Slag et al. This is about economic analysis of urban subsidence in Gouda and Amsterdam in the Netherlands. And well, the floor is yours.
Yeah? Yes, it's working. Oh, a bit hard. So yeah, I'm gonna talk to you about economics, and I'm gonna present the work that I did together with my colleagues at Deltares. So my name is Saskia Hommes, and I did the work together with Sien Kok, Daan Roose, and Mark de Bel, all working at Deltares. So I want to talk to you about money, basically. And I was wondering, are there any economists in the room? Yeah, I know. I saw you, Davy. So I'm not an economist myself, but I did the work together with Sien Kok, who is an economist. But I think basically we're all thinking about economy because we all use money. We all do cost-benefit analysis if we buy like small things in the shop, groceries, or bigger things like houses. So I think Michiel already mentioned it in his keynote this morning that we should also think about economics and cost benefits of subsidence. Well, it's the fourth M in the 6M methodology by Gilles and Esther. So there was this study that's called Dalende Bodems, Stijgende Kosten. So subsidence, subsiding souls, higher cost, basically. There they calculated that the damage due to subsidence will be around 22 billion in 2050. So it's a good reason to talk about money. So what did we do? We looked at two case studies in the Netherlands. One of them is the city of Gouda, the lower part, which we will, most of you will visit Friday. It's a very nice and beautiful city, but also located in a subsiding area. It's not subsiding that much, it's a couple of millimeters per year. But if you look at this picture at the Turfmarkt, you can imagine that if we have some more subsidence, the water will flow into the houses regularly. So it's a big problem. And we also did an economic analysis for the city of Amsterdam. Sorry. In 2021-2022, where we focused on 5 different neighborhoods. But first, the framework that we used. It's a lot of information, but I'll try to guide you through it. If you think about economics, you can think about direct economic effects and indirect effects. I think that's very straightforward. But you can also think about market effects and non-market effects. And market effects are damage to, for example, critical infrastructure like roads and houses that you can put directly into euros or dollars or whatever you want to use it for. But non-market effects are basically things that you cannot easily replace by buying something at the market. So things like damage to landscapes or health impacts due to subsidence because of houses that get more humid, and due to that you get health risks, health impacts. So we used this whole framework that was put up by my colleague Sien Kok and Ana Laura Costa to do these 2 case studies. I have to get some water because I'm still coughing, sorry. And there are a lot of economic methods. I don't go into them in depth, but you can. What we mainly did is used for the direct effects, damage restoration costs that you will see in this presentation. And we also used the cost benefits that were applied in different fields of expertise and transferred them to this field. So this is the city of Gouda. I think Gilles more or less had the same picture in his presentation. Gouda is famous for its Gouda cheese. You can buy it all over the world. It's a small historic city center in the province of South Holland. And it was built at the shores of a small creek in the peat area, the Gouwe. And it's, as I said, subsiding 3 to 5 millimeters per year for the city center. But this does cause a lot of problems. For example, pluvial flooding. With this same picture that I showed you before, you can imagine with heavy rainfall, it just flows into the houses. The buildings get really wet. But you also have a lot of height differences in the city center because there are different kind of foundations. Some of the houses are built on shallow foundations, others are built on timber piles or concrete piles even, if we go outside the city center. So what we did in this case study that was actually part of the planning process of the municipality of Gouda is we compared different coping strategies. And two basic strategies that we compared were sustain elevation. And what we did in this strategy is that the assumption was that all the shallow buildings, all the shallow foundations under the buildings were replaced. That is around 1,500 buildings have shallow foundations in this inner city area. And also the roads and the sewage systems are grounded. So you can imagine that would be quite an operation to do that. And the second strategy is manage subsidence. So we will try to reduce the negative consequences of the subsidence by, for example, preventing the wooden piles to rot and by waterproofing buildings. And what we did is we followed the steps that you can see in this scheme to do a cost-benefit analysis on these two strategies. And that's the main result of that cost-benefit analysis is this picture table, really. And now I have this spotlight. Yes, okay. And what you see here is the strategy of sustained elevation that gives a lot of negative number on your balance because of you put a lot of foundations under these houses and also for the roads. So this gives a big negative number for this strategy. I really don't like the spotlight actually, but okay, we use it. So that's I'll just do it like this. So in the end, that gives you this number of minus 127. Whereas if you look at the strategy of managed subsidence, go again with the spotlight, try it, yes. It also gives negative numbers for the measures that you do, waterproofing of buildings, and small elevation of roads, but it's much lower than sustaining all, heightening all the houses. So the conclusion of this cost-benefit analysis was that by choosing a strategy of managed subsidence, the the costs do outweigh the benefits. So that's what actually happened in the planning process of the municipality. They decided to further develop this managed strategy, managed subsidence strategy, and also came with the plan that was decided by the regional water board, regional water authority, sorry, to lower the groundwater levels here in this, sorry. Oh. Ik heb hem nu helemaal aan het einde gedaan. Ik wilde de spotlight. I wanted to use the spotlight, but used the. So, yeah, I'll go. Oh. See? Yeah. So in the end, it was decided to lower the groundwater level in a part of the inner city and do all these measures that were part of the managed subsidence strategy. So I think this is a nice example of where our economic analysis really had impact in the policy process for Gouda. Then the case study of Amsterdam. Here we did a really exploratory analysis. We didn't do like comparing the strategies as in the Gouda case, but we compared the subsidence in 5 different neighborhoods in Amsterdam, where they have different building periods. Like the Tuindorp Oostzaan is much more older than the Krulslaapplantsoen all the way in the right. And also different subsiding rates. But the aim for the municipality of Amsterdam was to get an indication of the possible economic effects of subsidence in their city. So here you have the numbers. It's what you see here are the different parameters that we looked at. So we looked at the pile degradation that might happen due to subsidence, at differential settlements, at damages and health issues in houses, damage to cable and pipes, maintenance cost, and damage to green spaces, flooding, and also reduced accessibility of the buildings. And I highlighted in red the numbers that were highest. So what you see is that these high numbers are caused by different parameters. For example, for the Tuindorp Oostzaan, this area, it has a high expected damage, but it's mainly caused by flooding and health issues. Whereas if you look at the Helmersbuurt or Vondelpark, it's mainly caused by degradation of the timber piles. So at least this gives you some indication of the expected damage in different areas, and that all areas have to deal with subsidence. But the extent really differs per area. And our analysis also showed that subsidence can be a serious problem in Amsterdam as well. They are looking into it, but it's not, they don't have a plan for it yet. So I think that what is needed, of course, is a tailor-made approach for each neighborhood. But we also need more insight into the level of subsidence in the area. We now use satellite data, but it was very, very coarse. And we need more information on the groundwater levels and subsiding of the actual buildings. So what I wanted to show you in this presentation is that we should talk about money, and that's the framework that we used can contribute to that talk because it can show the economic impact of different strategies. It can show the need for action because a lot of definitely policymakers, but definitely politicians are steering on money. So we need to show it, and it can also help us identify the key stakeholders. Because I didn't show this in the table of Gouda, but we also contributed the different benefits and costs to the different stakeholders. So it can also help for that. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Saskia. Time for questions. Who has a question?
Daar.
Ah, sorry.
Hi. I was wondering, in your cost-benefit analysis, whether you've also taken into account possible damages to buildings due to differential settlements, if we're talking about movement of your soil.
Yes, we did take that into account, but then based on the expected foundations underneath the houses, the buildings. Yeah.
So is that then in your first line in the table?
You mean for Gouda or for
Amsterdam, for these 4 areas?
No, it's in the it's in this one, the second one.
Ah, okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah.
Any further questions?
Yeah, maybe you included it or you accounted for it, but there's a difference in costs which are which the public bears, like foundations. It's in principle it's private property, so you have to make sure you it's in order for yourself. But on the other hand, like costs for public green, I saw, and other costs are for the public and for government. So how did you weigh that, or how did you accommodate for that?
Yeah, that's what you see here in the right, on the right. So we did show it where the costs and benefits will land. But in the end, it's of course to decision makers to decide if we want to take into account. Of course, we could say it's the foundation is the responsibility of the property owner, but we don't want to put that on all the. At least the municipality of Gouda said, okay, we want to take it into account as being societal or responsible for our people in the city. So, yeah.
Thank you for your great talk. I have a question because in the slide number 6, I see you have the uncertainty analysis, but in here I see you have a lot of factors like the market, direct and indirect. It's not a value. How can you assess the uncertainty based on the factor like this?
Yeah. Good question. I'm not exactly sure how to do that. It's I really don't know because I didn't do this analysis myself. But I can imagine that we will play with some of the parameters to see how they affect the analysis and how big this effect is. So, but I should ask my colleague for you.
Okay, and we have a final. Yeah, you're the final question, Henk.
Yeah, thank you for the nice presentation. My question is related to the buildings and if you consider the individual value of the building. Mm-hmm. Was it based on some database or?
Yeah, you mean like the house prices and
yeah.
It was difficult to do that, but it was built based on databases that we got, and also of course how do you say that? aannames, I don't know, assumptions on how these prices would change due to effects of subsidence. Yes.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you.
Final question for Henk.
Thank you for your presentation. I was wondering, I've seen a few cost-benefit analysis regarding the rural areas,
Mm-hmm.
and then primarily scientists from the ecosystem services field
Yeah.
would argue that you shouldn't value everything in money. You should opt for a plural valuation with multiple evaluated endpoints.
Yeah.
For instance, for biodiversity or maybe even for health. Do you have any thoughts or comments on that?
Yes, yes. Of course, this is only some of the parameters that are influenced by subsidence. So what you say is actually also true for urban areas, that we also should take into account if we want to do a full cost benefit or societal cost benefit analysis. We should also take these things into account. And we don't want to monetize everything. So, yeah. Thank you for your contribution.
Okay, thank you very much, Saskia.
Okay.
Big round of applause, please. Yes.